ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to the segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our reflection today is Dhanasari Mahalla Tija, composition of the third Nanak, Guru Amar Das. The recitation first, stanza by stanza, and the reflection follows. Dhanasari Mahalla Tija, मन मरै धात मर जाए, बिन मन मूए कैसे हर पाए. एहो मन मरै दारू जाने कोय, मन शब्द मरै बूझे जन सोय. Guru Amar Das here is pointing to the necessity of psychic death, to die to the ego in order to be awakened to the self. So he says, when the mind dies, man marai, so does its substance, dhat mar jaye. When we say substance, we mean its functionality, so to speak. It's what it is made of, the ego, that is. So without the death of the mind, bin man mue, and when we say mind, the reference is to the ego mind. Without the death of the ego mind, bin man mue, how can one realize the har self? Kaise har paye? And he goes on to say, few are those who know this medicine, daru jane koi, for the mind's death, eh man mare. The mind, when it dies through the sabad, man sabad mare, only then is discernment of the true self possible. Bujhe jan soy. So necessity is the death of the ego, and its constructs, which is the substance, must dissolve in order for a higher realization to ensue from there. And what is the mind's substance? It is its innate tendency to run, constantly wavering, never to be still. And the Guru says that the medicine for this death and for reawakening is not to suppress it, but to transform it through the transformative touch of the sabad, the word, the instruction of the Guru. And in the Rahau, he continues to say, Jisno bakse har de vadiyai, to whom grace is given. The har, the self, gifts its wisdom. In other words, the wisdom of the self through which we know the self comes through grace. And the grace is Guru Prasad Vase Mane Aaye, the grace of the Guru. This is the loop that works in order for the har presence to come to abide within the mind. So realization of the har is not the product of self-effort, but divine grace, which is gifted by the Guru, Guru Prasadi, which is a higher orientation of the self. You require that in order to really dissolve the ego, because the ego cannot do it by itself. The next stanza, Gurmukh karni kar kamave, ta is man ki soji pave. A reiteration. When one conducts oneself in accord to the Guru's teachings, then the insight of the har, soji, is discerned within the mind. Karni kar kamave, the condition is that you must conduct yourself in accordance with the teachings of the Guru, and then you will get discernment. Man mein mat mein gal mikdara, gur ankas mar jivalan hara. The mind. Within the mind is the intellect, the ego. Mat, magal mikdara. It's running amok like an elephant in heat. Magal mikdara. And the Guru plays the role of the goad. It strikes, when the elephant trainer strikes the elephant on the forehead with the goad, the elephant knows which way to go. So we have to adapt our lives to center around ethical action and spiritual discipline. And the mind's rampant tendencies, like that elephant, are subdued only through the Guru's guidance and force. And then he goes on to describe the mind in its natural state. The mind is man asad, sadhe jan koi. Man is asad, undisciplined. And only the rare ones are able to control it. Sadhe jan koi. Achar chare ta nirmal hoi. If only one chews the unchewable, in other words, does the impossible, is the mind made pure, straightened out. So the Guru-oriented, Gurmukh, can reshape the mind by expunging the ego. You need the Guru to chew the unchewable. Gurmukh ehman laya sawar, haume vichon tajay vikar. So he declares what is really a universal truth, the fact that the natural state of the mind is undisciplined, untrained, reactive, stubborn, unperfected. That is what asad means. And sad means to perfect it. And so regulating the mind's emotional and cognitive turbulence, which is to purify it, is akin to chewing iron. So the iron work that we have to do is overcoming the ego's resistance to die to itself or to transform its own conditioned mental patterns. Only a Janakoi, only a rare one, he tells us, engages in such an undertaking. जो तुर रखियन मेल मिलाए कदे न विछड़े शब्द समाए अपनी कला आपे प्रभ जाने नानक गुरमुख नाम पछाणे जो तुर रखियन मेल मिलाए. That which was so decreed by the original. Tur means the origin, the source. That was just so decreed. That is what brings union, mele milai, because it is so decreed in our evolutionary structure that we will find union eventually through the sabad. Jo tura rakhiyan mele milai. That is our evolutionary destiny, to find that union. And then we reach a stage of kadena vichhada, never to be severed again, sabad samai, because then we are in resonance with the sabad, which is an extension of the har. Apni kala ape prabh jaane, nanak gurmukh naam pachane. So, jo tur rakhiyan mele milai shouldn't be understood as predestination. It's not fixed fate. It is a spiritual predisposition that we all have embedded in our consciousness. Something that ripens, awakens. And this predisposition is universal in all of us, but it is not activated by all of us. That's the difference. So, jo tura rakhiyan, that which is preordained to unite us, to keep us never apart, is the sabad. And it is the divine presence within. Apni kala ape prabh jane. That is the initiator. That is the one that actually the process. Nothing is happening by the ego in this regard. Nanak Gurmukh Naam Pachane, through the Guru, you recognize the patterns of the Guru wisdom. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.